You're a revenue expert. What other areas of revenue would you say that states can explore to ensure that they buoy their internally generated revenue?
The one that comes to mind quickly is the taxation. And it's not taxing them anymore. It's right up to now, I'm sure, maybe between 20 to 30% of taxpayers are the ones that are in the tax net. So what you need to do now is you need to create an enabling environment that will get every income earner to pay the tax or taxes that they should.
But the income earners the taxes are deducted from their salaries ahead of time.
No.
So is it a question of remittances that are not being made?
No, you get it wrong. That's, the government workers are a minimal percentage of the entire state.
Look, why I say that, even the private concerns, their staff salaries, the payee salary tax is deducted from source, so they don't see it. So is it a question of remittances? For instance, the Ekiti State shut down some organizations because they say they are owing taxes they've not paid. They was not giving a breakdown whether it's payee or the other taxes.
We told him.
Now, what I'm saying is it a question of remittances that these private concerns are not making to the government? That's why the taxes are not being paid? Or are there individuals who own private businesses, who run private businesses that are not even paying taxes?
It's a combination of all that you've said. One, unfortunately, if you're a government worker, you must pay your taxes because it's deducted at source from before you get the salary paid. But for private organizations and individuals, you find out that there is no enabling environment to capture these taxes, and that's where the problem really is coming from. Because right now, you do your business, there is what we call withholding taxes that ordinarily before you paid, it should be deducted. When it gets deducted, it doesn't get remitted, or it doesn't even get deducted at all. You know, and until there is an avenue whereby every income has an opportunity to pay its taxes, and that's just even that's one of the most easiest way of quickly getting to pay and to generate revenue. But there are many other revenues.
But you know, before you talk about revenue generation, the question of cutting cost of governance, nobody has really answered that bit. How would we cut the cost of governance?
Thank you.
Without having to cut down minimum wage or sack anybody?
Thank you. You see, I started by saying that let's identify the costs. Let's identify the expenditure. And if you ask me, by the time you do an in-depth scrutiny of what your expenses are, and you cannot generate enough revenue to it, what you're likely to do, the accountant in me, there are two avenues to making profits. Either you generate revenue up or you reduce the expenditure. Do you understand me? But salaries can't be the expenditure that needs to be reduced. No, there are many more costs of governance that needs to be looked into.
You know, the word many
Yes.
says a lot. Perhaps we should start by exploring some of the few we can take on the program. Maybe that can help some of the states in looking in that direction. What are the few that you think that we should look towards in cutting costs?
You see, we start by the cost of governance itself, administrative costs. You know, these are costs that when you look at, or even cost of the acquisition of the capital expenditure that need to be put in place. In fact, most times they don't go through the due diligence processes, and there is always somebody somewhere that's giving the notes, and you want to satisfy a particular godfather, and then you find out that some expenses get incurred again and again because you gave it to the first person, it didn't do a good job, but because it has come from a godfather, you cannot complain. If not, you now become someone in the bad books of the political godfather. So you see yourself having to incur some cost again and again, which is part of why we say this cost of governance should be looked into. And until we start looking at it from a purely entrepreneurial.
Does that come under diversion when such monies are moved towards such venture?
No, that's not diversion. That's just wasteful. That's just wasteful expenditure.
Because as an accountant, such monies have been budgeted for a certain task or project.
Okay.
And if it's taken to maybe a certain godfather or certain...
No. So what I didn't say taken to. I said a godfather gives a note to a governor or to someone to go give the governor. So the governor awards that contract to this person. Maybe for one reason or the other, may not necessarily be the most competent hand to handle the job. But he can sublet it and stuff like that. At times, he gets some of these jobs sublet. And the danger in that is, I just take a margin. You go do the job. A ₦1 million job, I take maybe 10% margin and I transfer 900,000 naira to you to do the job. Now, when I'm going to execute the job, I want to make profit myself. And at the end of the day, I realized that 900,000 naira is just barely enough to doing the job. So now I have myself reducing the quality of the job that needs to be done to 700 or 800. Now I have made my own profit. Now for doing the job for 700 or 800,000, you are not getting the desired value when the job was initially awarded out at ₦1 million. So you now need to come back again to re-award this job. You understand me? And these are some of the challenges that we are having. Why? Because I run a company of my own, and there must be 3 or 4 bidders for any job that I want to attend to. Even as little as supplying of stationaries in the office. You don't just ask somebody to. And until we start looking at it from that angle, that it's not just business as usual, where everybody can say we are going to get money from the federal government, which is what is happening right now. The federal government needs to be firmer, needs to be stern, that, hey, you guys can continue to come to me. As the father that I am to you, I want you to go back, bring to me a constructive budget of revenue and expenditure. There should be, global or countrywide commissioners of states of finance coming together with the Minister of Finance doing a wonderful job. And I'm looking at a situation whereby I think it's time we start putting in place for governance people who have proven and tested that, okay, this is what this guy has done in a business enterprise before. He made a success of it. And then because of that, and he's also a politician, I think these are the kind of caliber of people we should be looking for, both at state, federal, national level.
And you think that surely will help us out of the woods. Bayo Adefeegbe, Revenue Generation Specialist, thank you for being on the program this morning.